we recording? Yeah, we're recording. So it's a big deal. It affects everybody. In every business, it doesn't matter what size of business you have, you are a target from cyber criminals. And one of the worst things that you want to see is you've been hacked. No one wants to see that message at all. You see people freak out about it on social media saying, oh my gosh, I've been hacked on Facebook, what do I do? You get the message from Equifax or from, Equifax or any of these companies saying that your information has been compromised. No one wants to have to see that message. It's a scary thing. But the problem is with cybercrime, there are a ton of different ways that your information can be hacked. So you've got ransomware, which is one of the most prominent cybersecurity attacks out there. And how many of you, do you know what ransomware is? Everyone's nodding. You know?
I think my organization had a ransomware thing happen before I came on board.
So I gotta ask the question, did they pay the ransom?
No, they were able to get around it.
Good.
But it cost them some money to get around it, and so
That means they paid the ransom, unless they called a consulting firm to come in and fix
yeah,
it.
they called a
Okay.
consulting firm.
So ransomware basically locks up your files. You click on something, your files get locked, and you get a ransom note on your computer saying, hey, got your files. I will say this, never pay the ransom. Never, 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 never. Always back up your stuff, but ransomware comes through by someone clicking on stuff. So when Pitney Bowes, I think it's the last company that got hacked with ransomware, or large hospitals, police departments, hospitals, what'd you say?
Cities.
Yeah, cities, yeah. So it's because some employee clicked on something that they shouldn't have clicked on, and computers infected with ransomware. There's identity theft that goes on out there, and that's usually the main goal with your cyber criminals. The whole goal is for them to assume your identity, so that way they can make, new purchases like a brand new car, like on The Price is Right, right? Except not on The Price is Right, it's someone stealing something. Although you don't get that new car unless you pay the taxes on The Price is Right. So remember that. But identity theft, that's what most of these criminals are after as far as crime is concerned. There's malware, which is basically malicious software that you install on your devices in order for criminals to get access to your personal information. Comes in, looks all nice and warm and fuzzy, like it's gonna help you out, but boom, next thing you know, you're giving out personal information and you become a victim of cybercrime. Website hacking has become really large now. Many companies are starting to use websites such as Squarespace and Wix. WordPress is the one I always forget about. They utilize site building tools like that. And what happens is when you sign on to Squarespace or WordPress or Wix, you're using credentials that you would use for another social media account. So if hackers can figure out your Facebook or LinkedIn account, they can probably figure out your website account. And since it's a web-based utility that allows you to design your website, then they're able to go in and deface your website or just take you offline completely. And usually your just common cyber criminal is not gonna do this. It would probably come from like a disgruntled employee or maybe some competitor that just really wants to see you out of business. But it's a real threat that you have to worry about. Phishing schemes are pretty big. Phishing is probably the most common way that cyber criminals get your information. For those who don't know, phishing is the act of someone sending out a legitimate looking email asking for personal information. And it looks so legit that you fall for it and you give out your information. Doesn't mean you're stupid, just means that most of these cybercrime emails and tactics are socially engineered, which basically means that hackers create emails and websites that are designed to elicit a response from you. So let's say this time of the year, holiday season, you get an email from Amazon or from UPS saying, hey, there's been a problem with your order. You're like, oh my gosh, I wanted to really get that Nintendo Switch for my son, grandson, or whoever, and you click on the email to find out what's going on with that package, and you're giving out personal information. True story. Customer I know gave out his information to Amazon. I mean, everything. So what happened was, and you're shaking your head, but you'll love how this worked. So what happened was, he bought a power charger for his Dell laptop on Amazon. And Amazon has a bunch of retailers, some legitimate, some not. And so they overcharged him for the power cord. So when he got it, they called him back a few days later and said, hey, we overcharged you for your power cord. We need to give you a refund for your money. So like if you go to Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and you don't have your receipt, or even if you do, when they refund your money, what do?
Go back on the card.
They put it back on the card. Do they need the card?
No.
No, they don't need the card. Well, obviously this online retailer needed his card again. So not only did he give him his card, they also were able to tell him to put his driver's license on his flatbed scanner in his home office, and they scanned his driver's license. So they pretty much had everything, and it was all because he was trying to get like a $10 refund. So the funny part of this story is I met him at a business event, and it's probably, I think it was a year ago, a couple of weeks from now. So he comes up to me saying, oh, Burton, I got hacked on Amazon. I thought the guy had been drinking heavily, to be honest with you, right? But after more he told me, I'm like, well, let me look into it. So it turned out he was legitimately hacked, and the guy not only wound up on Problem Solvers, because most people aren't willing to be so forthcoming about taken advantage like that, but he also wound up, I think, on ABC Worldwide News. One of the ABC affiliates interviewed him too and was giving tips on what not to do. And when we did the interview with Fox 4, we were able to call the same scammers up, and so they walked through the same process. Well, they didn't scam them, I gave them like a bogus credit card number, but they brought up a screen as, okay, just type all your credentials here, and had I been unsuspecting, I would have given up my information. So phishing is the #1 way that you can be hacked, so beware of the information that you give out. Yes?
Burton, this happens in the chamber fairly regularly. Me as the chairman and Amy as the president, and the whole board being on the website, all the board members get an email that looks like it's from us. It doesn't sound like phishing exactly, but it's still, and it's saying it's urgent and we need, some sort of help. And so I'll get a text or a phone call or an email following up.
Right.
And it's obviously the root email is not from me.
Right.
But the message appears like it's from me.
That's what's called spear phishing.
Okay.
So what they're doing, obviously, when you fish, you just throw the line in the water, you get one fish. Spear fishing, you've seen it. They're, got the fish, and they're like, oh, there's 3 in a row. You throw the spear, boom, you got a bunch of fish. So that's spear fishing. To combat that, especially for large organizations like that, you hate to remove your email address from the website, but usually that's what you have to do. Or, because a lot of the spear phishing tactics come from bots and programs that are going through scouring websites, gathering up email addresses. And so once they get a bunch of emails, then they'll craft messages that are geared towards your chamber in order to trick people, in order to giving up chamber secrets. But yeah, I hate to see it, but I'm seeing more organizations do this. Just taking the email off the websites.
So basically your personal email off that address, like leave the main information email.
Right, but for each individual in the organization,
Because that happened with me. Alan Napoli is the president of our board.
Yeah.
And so I get an email from Alan Napoli and I'm like, boom, yeah, okay, I'm right there. What do you need? He needs 7 Google cards worth $100 each.
Really? Wow.
And the number scratched off the back. I'm like,
Are you serious?
yeah,
That's
this
awesome.
is Alan Napoli.
Yeah, exactly. 7 Google cards. Not 6, but 7,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, phishing is huge. That is the #1 way most businesses are taking advantage of. So a lot of corporations are starting to take down all of the websites off of the emails off the websites, and just having the main info website. And it makes you less of a prey. Another thing you can do is do the CAPTCHA phrase on your website. If someone tries to email, then someone would have to enter in a passcode on the website in order to get access to the email to prove that they're a human being. Because most of this stuff, when they are gathering these email addresses, it's done from some program that's just scouring tons of websites to do it. But if you put a CAPTCHA on there, it just makes it a lot harder for them to get that information. Device hacking, this comes from if you lose your smart device, which hopefully everyone's got their smart device password protected. But if you drop your smart device, just think of all the critical information you have on it, someone can get it. And then staff members or employees are guilty of giving out those secrets that cause you to get hacked. And then finally, if you're tricked, it happens to everybody, not me. IT guy, right? No, seriously, it hasn't happened, but, no, yeah, it has not happened. I scour that stuff. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but the problem is, like I said before, these emails are socially engineered. So that's why prevention is the key, or learning what things not to do with cybercrime is gonna help keep your company protected from all of the cyber threats out there. Which leads us to number one, and something to really think about it. Most cybercrime threats require user interaction. You've got two types of cyber threats out there. You've got your large company data breaches where, Equifax, I hate picking on them, but they're the big ones. Facebook, where someone's willingly giving up information, or someone hacked into a large scale company and that information was leaked out. You really don't have any control of that. I mean, the only thing that you can really do is either A, change your passwords for your online accounts, or B, if the breach is severe enough, you've got to sign up for credit monitoring service. But 9 times out of 10, if a company is going to get hacked and a hacker hasn't gotten into it, it's probably because some, I won't say dumb, but some employee was doing something non-work related and clicked on something that they weren't supposed to, or they didn't take the time to read the email before they clicked on a link. But so if you read about all the ransomware attacks that have occurred this year and in the past, it's always because someone clicked on something that they weren't supposed to click on. And you've got to understand that many of these threats, such as ransomware, are malicious enough not only to attack that one device, they can also go across your entire network and shut down your whole business. So some cities have been down, like the city of Atlanta was held under a ransomware attack. Well, it's the funny thing about this, the ransom was $50,000. It cost them $1.2 million to get back in the business because of the time and effort in order to get everything back and going. And usually if it takes an organization that long to get back into business, it's probably because they didn't have their information backed up. So all this phishing emails, all the spam, all that stuff, if you don't click on it, you can basically keep your organization safe. That's why you're seeing organizations now that are sending out the fake phishing email to see if someone clicks on the link. And I forgot the slide for this, but if you Google spam phishing or spam phishing test, Google actually has a site that you can go to where you can test yourself, or make your employees go to test themselves so they can see the difference between a legitimate email versus a phishing email. So, I mean, you definitely want to have people go through that. Like I said, it's all because people are clicking on stuff that they shouldn't be. And think about this. Go ahead.
It's like a test that they take? Oh, yeah. Every one of them.
And I forget the name of it. I should remind me, I'll pull it up at the end of this presentation. But yeah, it's a free test. You can just go to Google's website and just type it in. It's by Google because they're like, man, too many people are falling victim to this. But think about that. 81% of hacking related breaches leverage either stolen or weak passwords. That's still about that. It's your fault that you got hacked. You know, if you're using Spot as your password and you're taking photos of Spot and putting them on social media, someone's gonna figure out, well, I guess it's 1, 2, 3 Spot, because Spot's the dog that they've been showing, or your kids. So you don't want to use anything personal as far as passwords are concerned. So one of the things you want to do as your business and as far as your employees should do is find out if your information's been compromised. And there's like several websites you can go to. Number one is a website called haveibeenpwned.com. And notice it's supposed to be owned, but some hacker was like playing a video game and it's like, you've been owned, and hit the O or the P instead of the O. That's why you got pwned. But what you can do is if you go to haveibeenpwned.com, you can type in an email address to see if it's been part of a large-scale data breach. So what you want is when you go to see if you've been pwned, you want to type in an email address and it says, hey, good news, you haven't been pwned. But if you get the, oh no, I've been pwned, then that means any email address or any passwords for that email address you need to change, because we're creatures of habit, and normally when it comes to all of these online accounts, we use the same passwords for our online accounts, which is a big no-no. So you look like you've got a question.
I do, because I am really concerned about this. What do you use for passwords? And if you're gonna get to this later in the presentation, that's fine. But I'm sure you are. Okay, never mind.
That was the clue, yeah.
Yeah.
You hit the nose right, yeah, I am. So yeah, have I been pwned? check your email addresses and make sure that you have not been pwned. Another website to find out if you have not been compromised is fightingidentitycrimes.com. Powered by Easy Shield, whose antivirus I won't recommend, and I'll talk about that later. But their website is really good. Their website's really good because they have what's called breach tables. So if you go to fightingidentitycrimes.com and go to the breach tables, you can go and look at all the breaches that have occurred since 2012 up to this month. But the thing, yes.
As in find your email address?
No. This is just to see which companies have been breached. Because you have to remember, it doesn't matter, most of the companies that get exposed are the larger companies, and those wind up with the major networks like Fox or CNN or any of those major news networks. But there are smaller companies that your company may deal with or you've dealt with as an individual that have become victim of data breaches that you need to be aware about because your information's out on the dark web because some company was lax in their security practices and your information's out there. So Fighting Identity Crimes has a full list of companies that have been breached, both large and small. And included in that list are what information was compromised during the breach and what actions you should take as an individual or business, meaning that either A, you need to just change your passwords, or B, you need to get LifeLock because that much information was leaked out. That make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I mean, you'd be surprised. I know Sprint is on that list. They were victims of a data breach. And going back to ransomware, I forgot one major one. Remember, Truman Medical Center got hit with ransomware this year, and they paid the ransom. Yeah, never pay the ransom. So finally, you can also do a business credit report. How many of you knew that? You can do a business credit report. Yes. So if you want to check to make sure that someone hasn't set up another line of credit for your business, you want to go to, try to remember, it's Equifax and Experian are the two that allow business credit reports. TransUnion, you cannot. But if you go to Equifax, just like your regular credit score, you can go and check what your business credit score is, and of course to see what things have occurred on your business credit line, what things have occurred. Another thing I was going to recommend as far as individuals are concerned, to make sure that you can keep track of what's going on with your credit, is to download Credit Karma. Everyone's used that, right? No? That's okay. I'm not going to fault you. So Credit Karma is a free app, and it uses kind of a quasi-TransUnion Experian credit bureau search, but you get up-to-minute stats when someone is doing research on your credit. And you can, of course, check your credit score on a regular basis. Every month they'll tell you what your credit score is. But it's good as far as using it as a monitoring system to make sure someone isn't trying to set up new lines of credit as far as you're concerned.
Which credit score do they give?
It's
because there's 3 credit scores.
Yeah, there's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and I think it's TransUnion and Experian are the ones that they. And it's not like your true credit score. It's kind of, you know what I mean. But it gives you a rough idea of what it should
like
be.
what Discover gives to you. I use Discover, and so it's kind of a broad brush.
Right, just like that.
It's not necessarily the actual score.
Right, it's like some of the credit, like most credit card companies have that too, where they've got the credit monitor. Like Capital One has that feature, Discover has that feature. I'm trying to think there's someone else too.
USA.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So go ahead.
I've got all 3 of the credit bureaus frozen and have had for years for me.
Yeah, you're good.
So the Credit Karma is gonna be able to give me my score.
It'll give you what you allow. So no, you won't get anything because your credit's locked. I had to think about that for a second.
That's the reason to not use Credit Karma.
Well, you don't need it because your credit's locked. But for the rest of us where our credit's not locked, yeah, we would need
Now, is this
something
for
like
just
that.
business credit locking? Cause like my husband's an accountant, he's got it frozen like 7 different places. It takes us weeks to buy a car.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, no, Credit Karma is more for an individual. It's not for a business. Yeah.
Why would you freeze your credit score like that?
Because if you've got everything that you need and you're just paying cash out, there's really no reason to have your credit score out.
It's an
there.
extra security measure.
Yeah, it is extra
You're
security.
not buying another house, you're not buying another car, then there's no need for you to extend more credit.
Right. Is that, cause you can still use your
You
existing
can
line of
unlock
credit.
it if you need to.
You can still use your existing line of credit when but you can't make any new purchase, get new cards, new cars, new.
You can't
phones.
like go in and get that 10% off at Kohl's for applying for a credit card.
Right,
Which I think is
exactly.
the real reason he did it.
Really?
I can't buy anything.
There's cash.
Yeah, no.
I know, but
Yeah.
still,
I
you
know.
get that 10%.
Give us that 10%. That's important. So
No.
number 2 is improve your password protection. I think everyone knows this, right? Everyone's like, oh man, I do it, I do a good job. But did you know you should be using passphrases as far as using a password? And passphrases are a lot easier to remember than just your regular standard. Who's gonna remember that, right? Yeah, I know, I had a hard time. Yeah. But passphrases are like maybe a couple of song lyrics, Farmers in the Dale.
I'm a car guy. I use year, make, model, engine size, and or
That's
trim
it.
level on the vehicle.
That's a
And
passphrase.
I've owned enough cars over the years, I just gotta remember which one I use for what.
Right, that's a passphrase. That's better than using something like that. Passphrase could even be something like stinky chicken, purple rhinoceros, orange gorilla, and then some numbers and letters. But it's something that helps you remember your passwords, but at the same time, it still fits the rule of passwords, which is 8 to 16 characters long. But I mean, that's what you should be really remembering as far as passwords. Because I mean, as far as you using cars for passwords, it's really easy for you to say, oh, okay, I use my 67 Chevelle to get into my Facebook account. So then it's easy for you to remember that. So that's the whole idea. It's easy to remember and it's secure. Because if you don't, well, that's two-factor authentication, which we're going to talk to in a second. Let's skip that real quick. And then you're forced to use a password manager to deal with all of those complicated passwords. But if you passphrases make it a lot easier to do. Yes,
So the password manager, that was my question about what's the best one?
there is no best one.
What
Okay.
keeps them from getting hacked?
Using a secure password.
We use LastPass at my office.
Right.
So it's we're independent agents. We work with a lot of different companies, and so.
You've got a ton of
We're
accounts you
dealing
gotta log
with
into.
dozens of passwords all the
Right.
times, and that's the only way we can do it. And yeah, I've got the longest passphrase for the secure password
Right,
on.
and they make you
LastPass.
generate one too, and if you do set up LastPass on your iPhone, Apple devices are good as far as making complicated passwords. And so maybe out of all of your passwords, your keeper password should be the best. But the other thing that keeps people from getting into that stuff is most of that data is encrypted in the cloud. So if someone hacks into LastPass, all your data is just garbage, and we'll talk about encryption here in a minute. But passphrases are good. Also use two-factor authentication on all of your online accounts. If you don't know what it is, which I hope most of you do, it's basically someone logs into your online account and it alerts you via text or whatever saying, hey, someone's trying to log into your account. Is this you? That's two-factor authentication, and that needs to be set up on all of your online accounts, all of them. Especially if you have some disgruntled employee that decides to go rogue and you want to make sure they're not logging into business information. You got two-factor authentication set up, then it's going to protect you. But yeah, so password manager, there's LastPass. Also another one I recommend if you don't want to deal with LastPass, if you're Firefox or a Chrome user, you can also use those as password managers as well, because both of those browsers, including Edge, will store your passwords in the browser. So that way, when you're on your smartphone or your tablet or your computer, you can just go to Chrome, go to the website, it'll fill in all that information for you.
I've read that those are weak, and those have been hacked, is that not true?
Well, the information is stored on your Google account, so as long as your Google account password is secure, then you're safe.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about, all that misinformation out there. Oh, those have been hacked, don't use those.
They've been hacked for the people without two-factor.
Well, people with weak passwords. It's like, yeah, if someone gets into your Google account, then yeah, they've got access to your emails and all that other stuff. But if you use secure passwords, then that's not a problem. Even if someone were to hack into Google, all that information is encrypted, so they're not able to get into that stuff. It's like with all the celebrities that were getting their iCloud accounts compromised. This is because they were using passwords that kind of associated with them as celebrities. So that's how they were easily compromised. Yes.
My email, I bring it up, it's there. I haven't had to put a password in a long time.
What program do you use for email?
It's Gmail.
Oh, okay, so your password is saved in your web browser, because I'm assuming you're using Google Chrome to get onto Gmail. I'm assuming, you could be using Firefox.
Well, that's been true for both, Android, Chrome, and, I forget what Microsoft, IE.
Right, Internet Explorer, yeah.
All three of them have worked that way.
Yeah, that's fine, because they're by default, when you install those browsers, one of the first things it'll ask you is, do you want to set it up to save your password? So it's been around for quite a while. It's just now they're making it so that you can have what's called either a Google account or a Firefox account, that password will follow you wherever you go.
It's only the emails that fill in the passwords automatically. All my other stuff I don't, and I don't want anything else.
No, that's fine. So yeah, but yeah, I think when you set up your email, you went in and said, hey, yeah, I want to set up this password, or if it was, Gmail, well, most of the browsers will pop up and say, hey, do you want to save this password? You must hit yes at that point, and then from then on, you just didn't hit anything, or you told it, no, don't take my password. So that's the only thing I can think of. So.
The other day, I logged into Mid-Continent's public library, and I got it filled it in automatically, as long as I don't have to, it was on tablet. Hope don't do that again.
What kind of tablet do you have?
Oh, it's real expensive, Packard Bell, that was purchased at a lumberyard.
Like recently?
A year ago.
Oh, really? You stumped the IT guy. I've heard of that. But I mean, most smart devices do have.
$80.
Was it in a trunk when you bought it?
But
They have
most
jewelry
smart
for sale,
devices
too?
are in, most smart devices will throw up a prompt, ask you to save your password. So at some point you must have said yes for Mid-Continent and then no for everything else. So. But it's no harm, no foul. I mean, regardless, if your device is stolen and you don't have a password in it, then you have a problem. But if as long as it's password protected and it's just stored on your device, then you're fine. Same thing with using like Chrome or Firefox as a password manager. As long as your device is password protected and you just decide you want to use that as password protection, you're fine.
It'd be scary if somebody checked out a book on my account.
Oh yeah, it sure would be. Yeah.
So, okay, I handle all this for a small nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And if I become the disgruntled employee, yes, I can destroy them. But,
Man,
but.
that was some strong words. You didn't say I could call havoc. You said I could destroy them.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I could wipe, and I keep trying to tell them this and say, you need to help me out here,
Right.
So, a password manager like LastPass, would that allow us to create a company one to where myself and my executive director have access to the same one?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's probably the best.
That's what you're doing for the insurance agency, right? Yeah.
That way we can share it, that's why we all use it, yeah.
Yeah, so if somebody does get disgruntled, the other person can lock them out.
Right, exactly, yeah.
There's accountability there, okay.
Right, oh, yeah. Always.
Alright, so I started to do that, but then I saw this seminar pop up and thought I'd come and ask.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's what LastPass is for.
Okay.
So family members, organizations, I mean, that's what it's for. Some people just cheap out and use like a browser, use like Google, and they just log into the same account and do it that way.
Yeah, and we were on Google, but we've moved to Microsoft 365 because Google was so individual.
No, I mean, not the browser, like Chrome.
Yeah, and
Not
the
Google
browser.
Docs for business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the browser would save everything for individuals, which is great,
Right.
except I need access to certain things and then they'd have to send me in.
Right, yeah, Office 365 works great, because I'm assuming you're uploading all your documents to OneDrive.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
timely, we're like on this.
Yeah, I have the cloud going, but then I also have, a box in my office, so.
Right,
If the cloud goes away, I have the box, if the box burns down, then I have the cloud. So-
right, yeah, exactly, and that's what we're talking about. Number 3 is automatic backup, so yeah, you can back up to the box, as you call it. I'm assuming it's an external hard drive, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Okay,
It's
then it's probably, do you have a slide for that? It's probably that.
Yes.
A NAS. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
So anyway, the difference between, because I know everyone doesn't know what network access storage is, external hard drive is just a regular hard drive you hook up to your desktop or laptop computer. They're fairly inexpensive, you plug them in, both Windows and Mac has the software to back up to it automatically. But the NAS, but the problem with external hard drives is that if you have a mobile business, what are the chances you're gonna hook up that external hard drive every time you open up the laptop? Not gonna do it, you know? So, I mean, they're good for desktops, because the desktop ain't moving, you hook it up, you're backing up, you're good.
Why does it have to be external? Why can't it just be another drive inside the box?
You can do that too, but the problem is that something catastrophic happens, like, you know, a tornado or whatever, you wanna be able to grab that drive and then run out of the door with it. Especially for a business, because the business, you know, say the business is burning down, I mean, you don't wanna grab especially if it's a server, servers are pretty heavy, so you don't wanna be running down the steps with the server, you wanna just grab the external, run out the door and be done.
I use a thumb drive for that reason.
Oh, do you? For backup or just for transporting stuff?
Backup.
I wouldn't back up to a thumb drive. Thumb drives are notorious for failing, like, for example, if the end broke, well, this one's all inclusive, but if it's, remember that end if that gets broken off, you're talking about a lot of money to recover it if they can, and the flash technology on flash drives, it's almost impossible to get the data off of it. So hopefully you're backing up to at least 2 or more flash drives and keep it in rotation, or, yeah, you need to be backing up to 2 or more, or, I'll tell you my solution in a second. NAS access or NAS drives are basically hard drives on steroids. They're huge, you can add more storage to it, and you can access them from the cloud. So you can have your own personal cloud storage system that you can access with a NAS. And companies that have certain compliances that they deal with use NAS drives, or if you just have a bunch of pirated music or movies, you might want to go with a NAS too, right? But, and like I said, Windows has file history that's built into Windows 10 computers where you can automatically back up to a NAS or an external hard drive. Macintosh users, you can use Time Machine, which I think is better than file history, because file history only keeps one set of backup files. That's ruined, you're done. Time Machine keeps multiple backups. There's redundancy, which is what you want with backups. So Time Machine, in my opinion, is a better one. But obviously, you can only use it if you've got a Mac. So, I'm not, you know,
That's a Mac.
that is Mac. Time Machine's for Mac. And file history is for Windows. But if you've got a NAS or an external hard drive, most of those manufacturers make external or make software that will back up. And so if you get like a Western Digital, what is that? Yeah, this is a Western Digital external hard drive, or a Seagate, or Western Digital NAS, they have backup software which will allow you to automatically back up your stuff all the time, which is important for a business because you want up to the minute backups for an external drive. You don't want it to run like the old drives at midnight. You want to run their software so that it is running constantly. Same thing with file history and Time Machine. They run constantly. I think Time Machine's running every 15 minutes. File history in Windows, as soon as you put a file on the computer, it's backing it up. But the challenge, oh, go ahead.
Well, it's been suggested, other sources, that you want to disconnect your backup and only connect every once in a while, back stuff up and disconnect so that your topic at the start, which was ransomware, doesn't get to your backup.
Right, now see the problem is with external hard drives, is that you do run into situations where if your device was infected with ransomware, it's gonna also encrypt the data on the external hard drive too. But as a business, as an individual, yes, that's cool, or if it's just a solo business, that may be a good practice.
That's what my thumb drive's having, I get the air gap out here.
Right, exactly. But what if you pull it out wrong? Then it ruins the drive. You know that, dude. You gotta eject it right. So, but yeah, it'll ruin the drive.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was safer because it's solid state. Those old drives, you know, they got the spinning disc.
Now remember, solid state, your old mechanical drives last a lot longer than solid state drives. So we've got people that are using old style, you know, mechanical drives that have computers 10, 15 years old. Solid state drives have, and especially flash drives have a finite amount of read writes to it. So maybe 1,500, 2,000 read writes, then the drive dies. So if you're backing up, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, I'm trying to warn you the best practices. If you want to use a flash drive because it's easier for you, do it. Just make sure that you've got multiple copies, because I know the information is stored on your device, but you don't want to be in that situation where your computer dies and then you're stuck with a flash drive that's dead too. So you want to rotate them at least I would say once a year. And even with that, if you're gonna use a flash drive for backup, rotate them throughout so that way you don't have a flash drive die.
Now, new machines, your internal drive is solid state.
Right, exactly.
Is that the same limitation?
Yes, it does. That's why a lot of desktop computers, you'll see that you've got the solid state to boot up the OS to make it run faster, but then they've got the old mechanical hard drive that you store the data on. So, I mean, obviously as technology progresses, solid states are lasting a little bit longer, but your mechanical drives, because of the magnetic use, the magnetic technology that's used, they're gonna last a lot longer. Yes?
So what do we do to prevent the external hard drive from being compromised?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. You can't. You can back up to the cloud. That is that is the best way and the only way to protect yourself from ransomware. Because there's redundancy. Yes.
So the cloud and the box, you've done that right.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Well, be careful now.
I
There's
mean,
two types of cloud technology out there. You've got cloud storage, which is your Dropboxes, your OneDrives, your iCloud, your Google Drives, your Box, which is another cloud service. Those are for cloud storage, not for backing up. Because like your external hard drive, if your computers get hit with ransomware and you're just using cloud storage to back up your stuff, that's gonna get infected too. And there's really no easy way to recover that in those infected files if they get hit with ransomware. With cloud services such as Carbonite and Backblaze, there's redundant backups and you've got 30 days of time that you can go back to restore your stuff. And Carbonite and Backblaze are roughly around, we'll say $75 a year for unlimited backup. And I mean unlimited. And it's automatic, because once you install Carbonite or Backblaze on your server, on your desktop computer, it automatically backs all that stuff up to the cloud. And your accounts are encrypted, just like your cloud storage accounts are encrypted. So that way if someone hacks into Carbonite, Backblaze, or OneDrive, or any of those services, your data is always safe. But what you don't get with your cloud storage services that you do with your cloud backup services is redundancy. And as a business, that's what you want. You want that redundant backup. So if your files get infected and go up to Backblaze or Carbonite, then they can say, oh, well, we've got backup from 2 hours ago before the ransomware hit. Let's go ahead and restore those files back, and then you're back in business.
Can you use Carbonite or Backblaze as a storage facility?
No, you cannot. I wish you could, but you can't.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have one that does both.
Well, what most people do is they'll use, most people are Microsoft users. So what they'll do, if you get Office 365, you get a terabyte of space with OneDrive. So then what people will do is they'll install OneDrive on their Windows-based computer or their Mac, and then they'll just set Carbonite to back that local folder up as well. So that way you've got both technologies out there. Because I mean, everyone wants access to their stuff to the cloud, you know. And OneDrive does offer backup, meaning if you had like, I guess a small business computer, you were good about doing multiple backups, you could just enable backup with OneDrive, because it'll just sync your stuff up. But that's just for the sake of synchronizing your stuff. There's no backup. If something happens, then you're cooked. So you always want to use something like Carbonite or Backblaze. And the difference between the two companies, Carbonite wants their money up front. They want their $70, $75 a year in advance. Backblaze, you can pay month to month. So it's like, what, $5.99 a month or something like that. So, and then, yeah, there's all the cloud storage services. And remember, it's for storage. It makes it convenient for your team to collaborate and get your information, but you don't want to rely on those as backup services. Although, you know, in a lot of instances for some of our residential customers, we will install OneDrive or Google Drive as a backup, especially when you're dealing with someone who's a senior and they've got photos and they're like on a limited income and they just don't really understand why they should pay $70 a year for Carbonite. So some backup is better than no backup. And with iCloud, you have to remember iCloud only works with Apple stuff. So iCloud will only allow you to back up stuff in Keynote, write, numbers. None of your Microsoft stuff's gonna go to iCloud Drive. So moving on, because we're Android backup, I always have to mention this. Who are we with phone-wise? Who's got iPhone? And, oh, it's only a few Android users in here? So Android users, you ought to know you can use Google Drive to back up your stuff, because you already got a Google account. And you have Google Photos enabled on your phone. For those who don't know about Google Photos, it works with both Android and with iOS. It's unlimited backup of your photos from your smartphone to Google Drive or Google Photos. Unlimited photos and videos. So enable it. Or you can pay Apple and just do the $4.99 a month for Apple backup. So number 4, you want to protect and manage your mobile devices, obviously. Password protect them, especially your smartphone. Your smartphones, if you password protect it, it automatically encrypts your devices. And encryption, if you think about it, is just like that 5,000 piece puzzle that you have to assemble during the holidays.
Too fast, I'm sorry, what was it, slide before pack? One before that? Thank you, I know.
All right, I'll go back.
Thank you.
But yeah, encryption's best, especially if you're working with a mobile office, because if you lose your device and it's encrypted, someone's going to get a nice shiny device. They're not going to get your information. And I know all your devices are encrypted, aren't they? I know they have to be. Insurance. I'm trying to think of the industries: accounting, insurance, medical.
Financial planners.
Yeah, financial planners. Yeah, all of their devices have to be encrypted because of all the personal data that you guys carry around.
Lending, title.
How,
But not agents, though. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I'm an agent. Well, we don't have any.
Yeah, I was gonna say agents don't have it. Attorneys don't have it. Especially if you're dealing with trust, you have some pretty critical information out there, so you should have it encrypted. But for smart devices, it's just a matter of putting a password on. For computers, Windows, if you're using Windows 10 Professional, only Professional, not Home, has BitLocker in it, which will allow you to encrypt your devices. And both of you, or you're both Windows users, right? So you're using BitLocker, I'm assuming?
Never heard of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
BitLocker for like mobile devices, is that what this is for, or for?
No, it works for both mobile and standalone devices. So if you have critical information at your office, and like if you're worried if someone steals a computer, then we would have to make that call to let our customers know that we've been breached and your personal data is out there. Then yeah, you probably need to encrypt your devices. And it's built into Windows 10 Professional. You just go to BitLocker, turn it on, and it'll encrypt it. So now we've done work for a ton of farmers agents, and they recommend their agents use BitLocker.
And mine may be operational and I'm just not aware of it.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but it's encrypted. I know it is. You wouldn't be using a device.
Right, much like you can appreciate, I pay the tech guy to do that stuff.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
have to think about it or learn it.
I like that. Yeah, I know we got a bunch of farmers agents I think they were like the last ones. They got an email saying, hey guys, you gotta do this or else, So I know with State Farm, actually the way their software works, if you log on and they detect that your device is not encrypted, it won't even let you on the State Farm portal to do anything. So if you're a Mac user, FileVault is built into the Mac. Same thing, you can just encrypt it and do it. Now back to BitLocker. So for hopefully most of the businesses in here are using Windows 10 Professional. Because if you got Windows 10 Home, it ain't gonna have BitLocker built into it. In Home, to kind of give you an idea, if you bought your computer at Office Depot, or Walmart, or at Target, or trying to think another place, even Best Buy, you can end up with a Windows Home computer. There's nothing wrong with Home if you're using it for home, but Windows 10 Professional for business use is a little bit more robust and has utilities like BitLocker. But it doesn't matter which version of Mac OS you're using, FileVault's built into it. So number 5, be careful working on unsecured networks. Obviously, if you've got a mobile workforce, you don't want them using Wi-Fi. You don't want them to not have their firewall on. And if all possible, you want to use a VPN in order to connect to the internet. Now I'm gonna go back to this slide because the ultimate protection is using a Wi-Fi hotspot. And the reason being is because a Wi-Fi hotspot offers a two-way direct connection between your device and your cellular company. So in order for your information to be compromised from your cellular company, someone would actually have to break into Sprint or Verizon to get access to that data. But if you don't have that option, let's say, man, I really don't want a hotspot, I need to hop on this free Wi-Fi at Starbucks or whatever, you want to use a VPN. And there's several types of VPN out there. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, which basically creates a tunnel so that you can communicate to the office or do whatever you need to do without prying eyes seeing the information that's being transmitted back and forth. As far as VPN software, there's TunnelBear, which will work on any device. There's NordVPN, N-O-R-D VPN. Now, if you're just using browser-specific stuff, meaning that you're going onto your online bank to look at information, you're looking at social media, and you don't want to see people see what you're doing or people seeing what you're doing within your browser, you can download Opera, which is a free web browser, and it's got a VPN built into it. You can also enable the VPN in Firefox. But remember, that's for browser-specific browsing, meaning that you're logging onto a website to get access to information. And even though they're free, they work, because these companies know that cybercrime is a problem. So number 6, stop using free email services for business. I shouldn't have to say that, but it happens. Get a domain and you'd be surprised how many businesses do not have a domain for their business. They're using that free Gmail account, Yahoo, AOL, you name it. People are using it. But domains are pretty cheap. You can go to GoDaddy and get a domain. You want to use the email domain too, as opposed to the Gmail domain.
I had to fix all that when I got hired.
Oh, that's so funny. I know, right? And then you were laughing like, man. So wait a minute. The company, the nonprofit you're working for, was just using Gmail?
Well, she had got a G Suite account. The problem is it was a hot mess and it wasn't never set up.
I got you.
And it was, everybody was doing their own thing. And I'm like, nope, you cannot do that.
Right, yeah, G Suite is okay. For those who use it, it's like Google Suite, and you can set up a domain through G Suite, because basically you pay, what, $5 a month per user. With G Suite, you go in, you set up your domain, you can set it up where everyone can collaborate with calendar, contacts, all that stuff, documents within the Google Suite. So the free Google is what you don't want. The G Suite you can use, and you can set up a domain that's personalized to your company, and it is secure. And with G Suite, the reason why you want to get a domain and non-free email for your business is because you get the support. Everyone in here is trying to call Google at some point, right? I lost the password, something, I'm not getting my attachments. You can't get them. You can't get them. So, if you get a domain, you've got a little bit more control over your email, you got control of your website, and it's secure. And as long as you don't share that email out with everyone else, it's going to keep you safe from hackers. So number 7 is you want to keep all your software devices up to date. Windows 10, you got to go to it. Next year, Microsoft ends support on Windows 7. So at the nonprofit, you're on 10? Okay.
I brought everybody up to 10 and all the way to Office 365. So,
Microsoft loves you.
yeah.
Now, for Mac users, Catalina is the latest operating system that's out. Now, you can go backwards and still use Mojave or High Sierra. You have to be aware of Catalina because there's some compatibility issues with older software, and that's with any software. So if you're running in an office and you're running 7, before you go to 10, make sure that all your software is just don't go in there. You know, I've seen guys do it. Well, I want our stuff to work. Well, did you check to see if it would work with 10 before you update it? You know, so you got to make sure the compatibility on both of those before you update it. But then the rest of your software, I would highly recommend, as far as like Office software, Office 365 is the thing to go with, because it's going to always keep you up to date with the latest version of Office. Same thing with other products that you use out there. Make sure that you're always with the latest and greatest. And you want to keep your phones and your operating systems up to date as well, because those updates come down for a reason. How many of you know about the bug bounty from like software companies? So basically the bug bounty works like this. Microsoft or Apple puts out a challenge to all the hackers out there and say, hey, can you hack in our system? If you can, we're gonna offer you, a bounty. And I think Apple's like got $1 billion bounty. So these hackers are like trying to get into the operating system. So if they find out an exploit, they notify Microsoft, Apple, whoever, they verify it, and if it's true, the hacker gets the bounty, and then the software company will patch up the software and you get the patch. So you're supposed to download it. That's why those patches come down. You gotta download them because those are known exploits that some hackers figured out. It's usually the good guys, obviously, because they're reporting, because they're like, I want that bounty. But sometimes, especially if you're using older software, could be the guys overseas that are, the cyber criminals overseas that are trying to get to your stuff that find the exploit. So when you get a software update, please, for the love of God, download it onto your device. Now here's the part that I love talking about. So if you got a Macintosh computer, you don't need antivirus software because it's built in. It's called Xprotect. Same thing for your Windows users out there. Windows Defender is built in. You don't need Norton, Kaspersky, what's another one? McAfee, ESET. You don't need all that nonsense. And if you start to look at your software manufacturers, you will discover that I'm not lying. Because what is Norton, Semantic Norton antivirus, what does it come with now? Does anyone know? Someone always says it. It comes with LifeLock now. Why is antivirus software coming with LifeLock? Same thing with like spam protection or any of those other things they bundle in with those software packages. It's not needed. That's why they're throwing all that stuff in there because they're like, they know Windows Defender will do it. And Windows Defender and Xprotect from Apple, they both have firewall protection built in. They both have antivirus protection built in. And Windows Defender has ransomware protection built into it. So you can actually turn on ransomware protection in Defender and it'll stop your computer from making sweeping changes like ransomware does. So like if you get ransomware in your Windows computer and ransomware protection's on, it'll stop it because Windows will say, hey, there's too many files being changed. So it'll nip it in the bud. So it's all built in. And so those other packages will slow down your devices as well. Now I know one of the agents we did work for State Farm, they had to have McAfee. State Farm made them have it. In fact, they went to like a State Farm site, it would pop up and say, sorry, you can't get to it. So in some instances, because of the parent company, you have to use it, but overall, Windows Defender or the Xprotect that's built in the Mac is good enough.
No more malware bites or.
Well, malware bites is,
Avast?
yes, Avast, oh gosh, no. That goes back to malware. So I mean, Avast,
Does malware bites help?
malware bites, if you get like potentially unwanted programs, you can use it to scan to remove those, but it's not something that you need running on your system all the time. Because there's no difference between malware and viruses and ransomware. I mean, they're all malicious software. I mean, the whole intent of the software is just to cause harm. The malware bites is a selling term used by the company Malwarebytes to make you think, oh, well, there's malware and there's a virus. Because their deal is that we want to fit in a different niche. We don't want to call it, virusware bites, because there's always virus protection programs out there. So someone was smart and said, hey, we'll come up with malware bites, and then we'll sell it. So that's how they become so popular. And like I said, it is a good tool to remove junk. But
Well, yeah, because I mean, you have people who are not quite computer literate and who apparently want to download everything that's offered.
But remember, if you click on something, you're opening the door. It doesn't matter if you got malware bites or Norton or any of that stuff. All the hackers know how to circumvent your virus software. That's why I said it's user preventable. You've got to teach people not to click on stuff that they're not supposed to click on. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, we've seen people with Trend Micro, Norton, all that stuff that have gotten hit with ransomware. Because once you click on it, it just opens up the door. So same thing with your smartphones and tablets. Android users, I think Pi is the latest version of Android. iOS 13 is the latest for Android or Windows devices. It's the same bug bounty. They put it out and say, hey, can you break into it? If they do, if there's a known vulnerability, the update will come down and you download it. So with cybersecurity, you always want to ask for help. Information just changes too quickly. So you always want to ask for help when it comes to cybersecurity. And don't get on the community with Facebook and say, oh my gosh, is this true? It's like my mother-in-law with the, is the fentanyl in the shopping cart. You can die from touching a shopping cart because 1 ounce of fentanyl is what it takes to kill somebody. So make sure you wipe down those shopping carts. Or what is it, the Jaden K. Smith, one don't accept this user on Facebook because they're a known hacker. People kind of upside that with Lizzie Borden. You don't want to offend or friend Lizzie Borden because she's a known hacker, right?
And don't forward it on to somebody and say, hey, is this a virus?
Well, you can ask, yeah, don't
I mean,
forward it saying it's a virus, don't do it.
forward it to
Yeah,
somebody,
ask.
just
You can
call.
always go to Snopes.com, you can always check that out. Oh, and also Fighting Identity Crimes has that same feature where you can look at not the breach table, but the scam table, where you can see what the latest internet scams are, so.
Or somebody you don't like.
Well, you could, yeah, get them all scared. But basically, to sum it up, yeah, you just wanna make sure that you stay safe when it comes to cybercrime, because it can affect all of us, so beware. But the main thing, to be honest, to keep you safe, is just don't click on anything, and spread the word and tell people not to click on stuff too, because if you're vigilant and you don't click on stuff, you're gonna keep yourself safe from cyber criminals. And number two, back up your stuff on a regular. Always back up your stuff. Keep multiple backups if you can. Do it to the cloud. If you don't like the cloud, use an external hard drive, but make sure you've got some automated form of backup. So if you goof up and do get ransomware, you can go through and say, hey, guys, I'm not paying you the money. I'm just gonna restore all my stuff. So, anyway, that's it. You can follow me on social media. I am always sharing tips and tricks about cybersecurity and other stuff.
I don't have Facebook or InstaTwit or any of those other funny looking things. Do you have a real card?
Yeah, of course I do. I'm not stupid. I carry cards around. Yeah, I always do. Yeah. So, but yeah, for those who are social, yeah, I'm all over social media. For those who aren't social, yeah, I've got business cards too. So, any questions, real quick? I kind of ran over.
I just found VPN configuration to the phone, is that something that?
Not really, because you got to put a bunch of complicated stuff in.
That's kinda what I was looking at, like, whoa.
I wanna thank everybody for coming and extend Amy's apologies for not being here, but she is hacking and crouping and we didn't want her here.
Like in a code sense?
No.
Like I'm sick, or she's actually like actively going in and trying to
No.
break into stuff?
She
You said
thinks-
hacking.
She thinks I'm the IT person, so she is not hacking you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, purposely had you guys here and get on the Wi-Fi just so that you could
That's
get
right.
into your information.
But thank you all for coming. If you have any ideas for future lunch and learns,